In the annals of American religious and social history, few figures are as enigmatic, controversial, and downright bizarre as Wallace D. Fard Muhammad, the mysterious founder of what would become the Nation of Islam. His life, his teachings, and the legacy he left behind, span continents, ideologies, and even elements of science fiction, weaving together stories of eugenics, imperial ambitions, racial politics, and esoteric secrets. And yet, the man himself disappears almost entirely from historical records, leaving behind nothing but myths, letters, and the testimonies of his followers. To understand Wallace Fard Muhammad, we must first confront the world he entered, a world of systemic racial oppression in early 20th century America, a world that shaped, and perhaps, broke the minds of those who sought to rise above it. Even the most outlandish myths associated with Fard, such as the legendary story of Yaqub, the devilish white man who created the white race, may have roots in the horrifying real-life experiments of Dr. Leo Stanley, the eugenicist surgeon at San Quentin prison. Dr. Stanley, a segregationist, white supremacist, and advocate of so-called racial hygiene, performed thousands of surgeries on incarcerated men, removing their reproductive organs, in the belief that this would somehow enhance the vitality of others. He reportedly transplanted human, and even animal tissue, into other bodies, in an early, grotesque form, of what might now be considered hormone therapy. While we do not have definitive evidence linking Fard himself to these procedures, the psychological trauma inflicted by such acts on those who survived them, could have inspired the vivid, apocalyptic imagery, in the teachings of the Nation of Islam, the idea that the white man was the devil, and the world needed to be radically remade. Fard Muhammad claimed divinity. According to early Nation of Islam documents, and letters from his secretary, Bernstein Sharif Muhammad, he was the great I Am, the supreme savior of the world. Followers perceived him as God incarnate, the ultimate authority, and he did nothing to temper this perception. There are accounts of him entering a church, proclaiming himself as Jesus, and suffering physical consequences for his bold claims. Contemporary psychiatric interpretation suggests that Fard may have exhibited classic signs of bipolar disorder, periods of hyperactivity, delusions of grandeur, and the charismatic ability to inspire unwavering devotion, in undereducated communities facing racial and economic oppression. In an era before bipolar disorder was formally recognized, such behaviors would have been interpreted through a spiritual lens, magnifying his aura of mystique and authority. The mystery of Fard's origins and disappearance only deepens the intrigue. Historical evidence points to him as an Urdu speaker, tracing his ancestry to the region that would become Pakistan. After 1934, his trail becomes tenuous, with rumors placing him in Mexico, New Zealand, or even back in Japanese or British Indian territories. Some suggest he may have died naturally, while others propose darker fates, including assassination, or ritual sacrifice, by disillusioned followers. Nathaniel Muhammad, son of Elijah Muhammad, later suggested that Fard had relocated to Mexico, maintaining contact with family members for years. The precise details of his later life remain elusive, hidden behind layers of myth, conjecture, and incomplete records. The Nation of Islam, the religious movement Fard founded, evolved dramatically after his disappearance. Elijah Muhammad, his most prominent disciple, carried forward Fard's teachings, while adapting them to the racial and social realities of mid-20th century America. Yet even within the Nation of Islam, there was tension between ideological purity and practical adaptation. While Elijah Muhammad's theology leaned toward Sunni Islam, with unique exegeses, he also envisioned a politically separate nation for Black Americans: schools, banks, newspapers, flags, and an anthem, a nation within a nation. Fard, on the other hand, favored integration, and a vision of Black Americans as full participants in the broader American project. The leadership struggle following Elijah Muhammad's death further complicated the story. Warathdin Muhammad, Elijah's son, sought to realign the nation with Orthodox Sunni Islam, destroying archives, and pursuing financial and ideological support from the Middle East. Meanwhile, Louis Farrakhan revived the original teachings, blending separatist politics, reparations advocacy, and theological innovation, that positioned himself as the spiritual heir to both Fard and Elijah Muhammad. Farrakhan's revival created a movement that remains influential today, drawing members from tens of thousands of Black American Muslims, many of whom passed through the nation at some point in their family history. Cultural markers of the nation, such as the iconic bean pie created by a Mexican member, in lieu of the forbidden sweet potato pie, remain embedded in the broader American Muslim experience. Fard's influence extended beyond theology and politics, intersecting with esoteric societies like the Freemasons and the Shriners. Symbolism, naturalistic teachings, and subtle references in the supreme wisdom literature point to a sophisticated understanding of secret societies and coded communication. Freemasonry, with its fascination with Orientalism, exoticized forms, and ritualized structures, left traces in the nation's rituals and terminology, while Fard's teachings differentiated between believers who were brothers in faith and brothers in nature, reflecting his nuanced and sometimes contradictory worldview. Even the most mundane elements of everyday life in the Nation of Islam carry traces of its founder's ingenuity. Consider the story of Wallace Muhammad, also known as Wali Muhammad, or Tom White, the first white convert to the nation. His participation in weekly picnics, waltz dancing, and the celebration of Fard's teachings, illustrates the eclectic, multicultural, and occasionally bizarre nature of early nation life. Both Wali Muhammad and Fard disappear around the same time in 1934, with rumors placing them in Mexico or Latin America, hinting at an interconnected web of personal, political, and mystical relationships that continues to baffle historians. Fard Muhammad's story intersects with American history in extraordinary ways: the prison system, eugenics, Imperial Japan, the emergence of modern Islam in America, secret societies, racial politics, and human myth-making. Each layer adds complexity to an already enigmatic figure, blending fact, conjecture, and spiritual myth into a narrative that challenges historians, sociologists, and theologians alike. His influence persists, not only in the theological and political structures he helped establish, but also in cultural markers, diaspora connections, and the ongoing debates within the Muslim and African American communities about identity, faith, and history. The legacy of Wallace D. Fard Muhammad is thus at once mystical, controversial, and profoundly human. His disappearance, the cryptic writings he left behind, and the movements he inspired, demand investigation, speculation, and respect for the historical context in which he operated. In the final analysis, understanding Fard is more than a study of one man. It is an exploration of the intersection of race, religion, power, and human psychology in modern history. And while his story may never be fully resolved, the impact of his life continues to reverberate through the Nation of Islam. Black American Muslim identity, and the broader tapestry of American religious life, a testament to the power of myth, the complexities of charisma, and the enduring fascination with one of the most mysterious figures of the 20th century.